to the Hughes and Company podcast. We're privileged to have with us today Sara-Gillooly, realtor, and Sarah is going to tell us a number of things about what's going on in the market, which is very interesting at the moment. The moment being the 24th of May, Wednesday, 2023. Sarah, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for coming here today. You mentioned that your particular interest is people bidding and outbidding each other right now, and the market is getting very confusing. First of all, let's find out which market you're particularly involved with, and then talk about the bidding and the outbidding.
For sure. So I'm at RE/MAX All Points, and that services the Tri-Cities mostly, a little bit of downtown as well that I do. But the Tri-Cities right now is a very, very popular area, especially Port Moody.
Yeah.
Most of our homes are kind of, the really livable ones are about the 2 million range. So
right.
That is a really kind of hot spot in the market right now. And I know a lot of people get really nervous about multiple offers.
Right.
So that's what I wanted to touch on today.
Okay, go ahead.
So usually as a buyer, we all get really scared and we hear things like, oh, that was a subject-free offer. So what does that mean? Usually
right.
People are like, oh, that must be cash offer.
Right.
Well, it's not necessarily a cash offer. It just means that they have done all of their due diligence before they actually come and put that offer in.
Yeah.
So let's say I was buying your house.
Yeah.
And I knew that the open house was really busy. It's priced at 1.8, but it looks really nice.
Yeah.
And so as a realtor, I will tell my clients, hey, let's do all of the due diligence beforehand. And what does that mean? That means that the inspection will be done before the offers are actually taken. So if we find something that's horrendous, like the foundation is totally falling apart, you don't actually have to go in with the offer later. And then I will make sure that your mortgage broker is on board and has all the file ready, and that you do qualify past that 200 or 2 million mark, so that you're not really going to be tight on money if you do end up winning the bid.
Yeah.
Thirdly, I always make sure I talk to somebody like yourself, Cedric, and get a title review done.
Yes.
So if there's anything weird on title, I can say, hey, Cedric, what do these mean? And you would tell me even before we put that offer in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you found one or two things that are weird on titles in the past, particularly up in the Vancouver Island area?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. There's been a few times where we look at titles, and this, when you pull the details on title, they're pages and pages long, and they're written in a way that is very hard to decipher what it actually means.
Right.
For me. For a lawyer, not so much. But so I like to always recommend to my clients to do that through a lawyer.
Yes. And there's some historical right-of-ways and other charges on properties that might not be particularly relevant these days, but they're still there.
Exactly. And some titles get very confusing, so it's a really good thing to make sure that all of that is looked after. You look at the PDS, make sure that you don't see anything funky, any material defects that might be on there, should be disclosed on that property disclosure statement. Or PDS.
All right. Well, back to the bidding wars. How's that going?
It's challenging because everybody right now, they fall in love with a home, right?
Yeah.
So they walk into a home, they fall in love, but having, say your offer due date is on a Tuesday.
Yes.
Having a check cut, let's say maybe it's $100,000 at the 5% of the 2 million, you have that ready to go. You have it as a bank draft, and you present it with your offer.
Right.
So these people will know, well, if I take this offer, they're already ready with that check.
Yeah.
They're going to be much more prepared than, maybe Bob, who doesn't have that check.
Right.
Things did change in January for us. As you know, we have something called a rescission period.
Yes.
So rescission period is 3 days.
3 days, yeah.
Right? So you have 3 days to kind of cool your nerves after you've maybe won the bid.
Right.
And you can walk away for pretty much any reason you want.
Right.
If somebody else has a better house down the street, you can walk away. If you realize, oh, actually, I don't have that gift money coming in after all, you can walk away. So you do have to pay a fine. It's 0.002%, 25% of the purchase price.
Right.
So it's about $5,000 on a $2 million property.
Yeah.
And you would have to cut a check to the seller if you were to do that.
Yeah.
But at least you have the option.
Yeah. It's not a total get out of jail free card.
It's not a total get out of jail free. You will definitely have some skin in the game, but it is at least something where, you know, buyers don't feel trapped, like, you know, the next day they wake up and realize I've made the biggest mistake of my life.
No.
Right.
So business loss that's sustainable if there's a real reason to walk away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the on the buy side, and I think it's really important for buyers to be really prepared. And some buyers, I say, put away $3,000-$4,000 just for inspections, because you might not get that first house that you bid on.
Right.
You might not get that second house, but you'll probably get that third one.
Right.
So inspections are not free, you know, between $500 and $1,000, but I think it's really worth the money.
Yeah. Do you find the sellers are getting confused by all the bidding that's coming in? Or are their heads spinning as to what to do next?
Yes, and you know, it's a hard one for sellers as well. And even the last 2 years previous to this, it was a hard market. Everybody's like, oh no, this is great. But as a seller, normally you want to go buy something too.
Right.
So it's the timing of things. You know, there's no more subject to a sale of a property unless you're in a higher bracket. So if you're in the Tri-Cities anyways, if you're in the $4 million range, you have a little bit more room because things don't fly off the market as fast.
Sure.
But yeah, sellers are nervous too because they say, well, what if I don't get that price? Right? So for a lot of people, I really try to remind them that putting a listing out there is an offer to treat. It's not a binding contract. You do not have to take that price if you don't want it.
Right.
So for a lot of my clients, I say, look, you want the absolute highest right now in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But sometimes putting your price up to that and then working backwards is actually in your detriment, because in a market like this, if things are flying off the shelf really quickly and your house has been there for a month or two, it's going to look bad because people are going to be like, oh, what's wrong with the house?
Right.
You know, there must be something wrong if nobody wants to buy it. And it's usually because it's priced too high and they have to kind of chase the market downwards. Whereas even recently, we did this. My client wanted a certain price. He priced it at that price, would not budge. Yeah. And I said, that's okay. 3 weeks later, he's like, Sarah, we don't have an accepted offer. Yeah. Pardon me. We don't have an accepted offer, and we're about to close on this house that we have. I said, I know. Yeah. Let's try this strategy. Remember that I was talking about and get multiples. Yeah. So we underpriced it by about 200 and got the multiples, and we got over the price that they were asking originally. Oh, so, and the psychology behind that, in my opinion, is that a lot of people get to your house, and sometimes pictures do not do a house justice.
For sure.
Pardon me. And it's not always the photographer's fault. It's just the house looks better when you come into it. Right. Sometimes it's the opposite, but sometimes it's just having the people come in and feel the space and feel the energy of the home.
For sure.
And that's when they fall in love. I always say it takes 30 seconds to sell a house. Yeah. Because they'll walk in and say, oh yeah, this is the one for me. Yeah. So I work in the Tri-Cities, and I absolutely love it. It's a super family-friendly areas. I particularly love Port Moody. That's where I live, so of course I do love it. There's been a lot of growth in Port Moody as well. So we have new towers coming up. We have Brew Street. We have tons of new businesses coming in the area, and the dynamic is really, really changing. There's going to be a big waterfront community. A lot of investors are coming into the area. We still have great rents. West Coast Express is there. The SkyTrain is there. Coquitlam's nearby too, and we're just seeing a lot more families there. And I think one of the big draws for families, not only the schools, but also just the proximity to the highway. So you're super close, you know, you're downtown in half an hour, you're in Langley in 20 minutes. So you're kind of like in the hub of everything, but you're not in the thick of it. So it's quite nice to be there. And I absolutely love it. There's so much nature, walks and trails and parks, so
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Yeah.
I imagine some people are actually, rather than commuting west towards Vancouver, probably commute east towards Abbotsford for jobs.
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. Like if you've been on that stretch of highway going to Abbotsford,
Yeah.
from Coquitlam, it is jam packed.
It's busy.
Most days. So right now we're seeing a lot more jobs coming outside of the center downtown core,
For sure.
and spread a little bit out more. So a lot of people are traveling a lot more
So
these days.
I'm imagining that the waterfront you're referring to is what, the Fraser River?
No,
Stave
no.
Lake?
Stave Lake is, so you're in Maple Ridge Mission, which is awesome too. You know, you want to be out there in Ruskin. You've got a lot more property. We don't have that big of acreage unless you're looking at Anmore.
Yeah.
But you have Balcarra Park, which is kind of that Anmore, and then you have the inlet. So you can put your boat at Reed Marina and you know, go under the Ironworkers Bridge within 20 minutes from there.
Yeah.
So from my house, I can actually see the Ironworkers Bridge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
So,
really nice.
yeah. Well, that's a lot of single family homes or high rises.
We're getting more and more high rises, so single family homes are becoming a bit of a hot commodity right now, just because the high rises are coming through. We just have a neighborhood called Portwood that's coming in there in the next 3 years, and they are building grocery stores, mid-range high rises. Then we have the George on St. John's building a huge high rise. So we have a lot of the big builders like Ani, coming in and just building these huge developments. Suderbrook is another one that came up, and it's beautiful. You have Thrifty's Foods, you have different shops, what's it called, play, daycares, everything around there. So, you know, it's becoming these little hubs where everything is right there, so you don't have to commute too far.
Excellent.
And making it much more walkable, which is great.
It has to go that way.
It has to go that way.
There's so many cars now. We're facing ultimate gridlock unless they localize people's employment.
Exactly. And you know, the cities are finally on board, which I think it took them a long time to realize.
Yeah.
So, you know, what's happened in Burquitlam, in Burnaby, with all the big shopping malls there, is also going to happen to Coquitlam as well. Yeah. So you're going to see like another mini Brentwood that happened in Lougheed. Now it's going to happen at Coquitlam Center as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like there's lots of buyers. Where are the buyers coming from? Are these locally raised people, or are they coming from out of province? Obviously both, but in what proportion?
Yeah, you know, for me, I mainly work with local people that have probably immigrated into the country at one point, just like I have as well. My audience is not your foreign buyers. Not that foreign buyers can buy anything right now with the temporary ban that we have going on. What I find a lot is people from Vancouver wanting more space. Okay. So the pandemic, I think, really pushed the Tri-Cities, even Bowen Island, kind of blew up because people were like, oh, I don't have to live downtown anymore. I can live a little bit farther, and for my $1.5 million downtown condo, I can actually buy a house in the suburbs. So I think a lot of people are starting to look at that and say, well, maybe that's what I want. Yeah.
But there's a lot of people in this area, judging by the volume of traffic. And the interesting thing is where they're all coming from, whether they're out of province or not. But that's a topic for another day, I think.
For sure. I think we can talk an hour just on that. So for sure.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. So the Tri-Cities is doing really well, a well-managed community.
Well-managed, and just beautiful. If you're, love the outdoors and love kind of the similarities to North Van, but maybe don't have that budget of North Vancouver, come to the Tri-Cities and see what we've got. It's pretty awesome out there.
Excellent. Yeah. And the movement out to Pitt Meadows and up the valley is just an ongoing process as well.
Oh wow, it's huge. Well, you have huge companies like Saputo that just built a massive, the cheese company.
Yeah.
They
yeah,
built that's what I'm saying. So they built a huge warehouse in Pitt Meadows.
No way.
So yeah, you're going to have places like Pitt Meadows just blowing up because of these things. Amazon's there.
Yeah.
Amazon's in Pitt Meadows, so people
Yeah.
want to be closer to that now.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, there is a really good reason to be there. And one of my clients just sold her home after being in it. It was pre-pandemic, so 4 years tops. She sold it for $800,000 more than she bought it for.
Wow.
It's just insane prices. The prices have just skyrocketed. And they're talking about there's a train in Pitt Meadows that really disrupts traffic. They're talking about doing an overpass, underpass, still in the works and a lot of controversy. But, things like that are really enticing people to go out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge, all of it too.
And once you're in Pitt Meadows, and if your commute is eastbound, you're okay, and you don't have any bridge problems.
No, the Golden Ears is easy. You can go. Yeah, that's not really a problem at all.
Excellent, excellent. So, what's your advice to your clients in 10 words or less right now in this market?
Know what you want and have a goal.
All right. That sounds about right.
Yeah,
Okay.
have a goal, and then you work your way towards that goal. If you're kind of
Okay, well, we're going to put up your contact information.
Amazing.
Thanks for helping us. Great talk.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Have a good day.
All right, you too.